The Unfaithful Servants, a folk Americana band from Vancouver Island, have just released their sophomore album, Fallen Angel, on October 17th, 2025. And I'm happy to be joined by Dylan Stone, the singer for the band. Dylan, how's it going, man?
Doing well. Good to be here.
So I've had the chance to listen to Fallen Angel. Great sounding album, beautiful music, mandolin, fiddle, and vocals, all eloquently placed and blended throughout. So what has the reception been, Dylan, since the release? It's only been, 10 days?
Yeah, it's pretty short, but it's been really great. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, a few different reviews. A lot of friends and family and fans have been sending us messages and just really enjoying it. Most importantly of all, the band enjoys it. So we've been listening back to it, and we're really happy with it.
So I guess that's number one. If you guys don't enjoy it, then something's wrong.
Yeah, well, a lot of records you listen back and you kind of wish, we missed that spot, or it'd be nice to clean that up, or all that. But we're all pretty unanimous that we're all very overall just really happy with the product.
Listening to the album, it really left me with some good positive vibes. But I'm curious to hear about the journey for this album, Dylan, of how Fallen Angel kind of came to be.
It was nice in the fact that a lot of the tunes we toured with a lot before we recorded them. We weren't going in just with a whole new batch of fresh tunes. It's tunes that we've been playing for a couple of years already. In some cases, they were a couple older tunes of mine that were, have been around my kind of lexicon for a good long while that now found a home with this band. So kind of giving them like a fresh spin with new arrangements and things. So it was a very well-worn group of songs, which is, I think, really helps give the album overall a cohesiveness.
You kind of touched on it, I guess, but you guys are labeled as Canada's most exciting Newgrass band. And you're really known for your captivating energy on stage and compelling storytelling, masterful musicianship, great vocals. And listening to the album, it's funny, you said that the tunes have already been played live before you got into the studio, but it really sounded like you're trying to capture that live experience on the album as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one thing, like our band, we have a pretty exciting live show just with the arrangements we have and the ability on the instruments. So it's something we always strive. It's actually a very hard thing to translate through recordings or even through video, just that excitement that it brings out.
Right.
It's a pretty, exciting thing to watch. So we definitely wanted to keep some of that, try to get as much as that energy into the album as we could, while just kind of staying true to delivering the songs in an honest way. But a lot of it was just kind of like us playing together as the album.
The title track, Fallen Angel, the harmonies really stood out to me, and all your playing seemed to really take turns in the spotlight, and it really comes together in a great magical way. So can you talk to me about that song in particular? And I know you touched on the timing and how the album was kind of put together. To touch on the rationale for why that was named the title track for the album.
That was one of those songs I wrote. I think I might have written that song before the band was ever formed. And it was kind of just one of those tunes that I wrote kind of in a darker place, and it sort of helped bring me out of that zone just by, the therapy of writing and then having a song that you can kind of express your state of being with, kind of helps you get through it a little bit. So it was always kind of a special tune to me. And then I brought it to the band actually kind of later in the game. And we suddenly came up with this really good arrangement. And we just felt like it sort of captures the tone of the overall tone of the album, which is kind of like darker themes, but kind of crawling out of it, basically. So, and there's just really beautiful imagery associated with that tune and the Fallen Angel concept. So we thought it would be a great title for the album as well.
I've had this thought, I guess, for a while. You mentioned that, you're taking some darker themes, I guess, and singing about it and writing about it. And it sounds like you're almost like as a coping mechanism to kind of get through one of those things. But I've thought about this with other bands, like with lyrics that really jump out to me, where it seems like it's really personal and the lyricist or the vocalist is being vulnerable, I guess, with that. How is that then playing that song live months later or years later? Does it open up that wound again, or is it all part of that coping process?
Yeah, that's a very great, poignant question. Because it's a constant, there are tunes on our set list that the guys want to play that I don't put on there for that very reason, just because I'm not there emotionally, or, it's like you don't want to have to be putting it on to perform a tune. And you also don't want to be, necessarily bringing up stuff that you don't want to be dealing with at the time.
Right.
So, you want things to be present. And so it was interesting because I didn't play that song for a lot of years. But bringing it back with the guys, it's kind of nice that the music itself has given it a bit of new life, because it's a new arrangement. It's different guys singing on it. It's basically like a whole new tune than the way I used to do it. So I kind of willed myself to get behind the tune again once I brought it to the band. And then with it kind of becoming such a centerpiece around the album, it feels good to be playing it again and giving it some airtime that it hasn't gotten in a lot of years. That being said, it might wear out its welcome pretty quick here. We'll see how long it stays in the set for. At least we'll get through the album tours here, and then. Yeah,
you're kind of forced to. You're touring with the album, or you got to play that song while you're promoting the album, right?
Fallen Angel album and then not play the tunes. So. Yeah,
but that's interesting that you say that too, because I've had that with songs. It's funny how time can have different impacts on songs, right? Where, it means something else now than it did 10, 15 years ago. I know a bunch of tunes that are like that. So that's the power of music, I guess, right?
Yeah, and and a lot of times, I don't really know what a song's about sometimes until 3 or 4 or 5 years later. Something will happen in my life, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's what that's about. It's almost like a foreshadowing or something, or a person that it's about, or things like that. Like a lot of times the time doesn't go one way.
Yeah.
So sometimes a song doesn't make sense until a few years later.
Absolutely. I do feel like your music is very communal and dynamic. And I feel the songs, especially on this album, can be impactful in different ways in different settings. Like I feel like it would be an amazing experience seeing you guys perform in the back of a barn beside some hay bales, or, in a beautiful rustic, soft seat theater. I think the intricacies of the music would sound great in either of those places. Does that make sense to you, Dylan?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy where it's like, on one hand, it's very like honest and sort of a front porch sort of sound. But there's like a pretty high level of sophistication going on musically. So it can kind of sit either way. It could be in a barn, it could be in a performing arts center, it kind of goes both ways, which is nice. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah, because I always joke about that, because you think, bluegrass and hillbilly music, it is like a music of the people, of really down home, but also at the same time, the level of musicianship it takes to perform that music is like top caliber.
Right.
Better than, any type of most rock or pop or commercial music. It's actually a level of sophistication far above that, more in line with like jazz or something like that.
Yeah, I thought about that when I was listening to it in like those two different settings, but I feel like it could, but yeah, you're right. Like the front porch almost, doesn't seem to do it justice, but it's cool that it sounds good. It can sound good anywhere though, right?
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing. We, I don't want to say struggle with, but it's something we have to be aware of, because we don't really fit into traditional bluegrass at all. So when we're playing those festivals where we're surrounded by trad bluegrass bands, we kind of stick out like a sore thumb, because we have like the tone is there, the kind of sound of the instruments is there to make it sound like a bluegrass band. But then what we're doing is kind of beyond any type of traditional music. So some people really dig it, and others are kind of just like raise their eyebrow and are sort of like, what are we listening to right now?
Right. So release day was October 17th, and you guys didn't really have time to be sitting around answering text messages all day of congratulations from your friends and family. You guys went immediately on tour like that day, right? So how's the run going so far, Dylan? And talk to me a little bit about the artists that you're sharing the stage with.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, actually. So we're actually on tour with Sherry Ulrich, which has been a really fantastic collaboration for us. Sherry's a very well-seasoned musician, Canadian musician. She's kind of bit of a legendary folk musician in this part of the world. She's won a couple Junos and just has a pretty extensive career behind her. And so it's been a lot of fun. We connected with her at a venue she runs, and we did a collaboration on a tune that was a lot of fun. And we decided to collaborate on some shows. The timing just worked out that we were kind of booking all of our album release shows. So we decided to bring her out for them. She's just a great singer, guitar player, songwriter, and it's been a ton of fun for her because we're putting our band behind her and bringing her tunes new life and arranging with her and things like that. So she kind of she's in a band again, So those shows have been going great. The tour we just had was really good. We just toured. I was actually in Fort Saskatchewan last night.
Oh, wow.
Which is 15 hours away.
Yikes.
Yeah, we were showcasing out there, and it went fantastically well. We were super well received. We met dozens of arts presenters out there that want to book us in their rooms.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and then we drove 15 hours through the night and got home at 9 a.m. yesterday. So.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm even more privileged to be, or an honor to be chatting with you because you probably should be sleeping.
I was going to say that I'm awake. I know. I messaged Heidi just before, and I said, "Is this going to be video or audio?"
Get coffee in the IV in your veins now, right?
I know.
Right on.
We're all family men too, so we wanted to get home for Sunday, and then we go back out next weekend.
Obviously, Sherry, could be added to this list, but there's already an amazing lineup of artists that you guys have shared stages with, in your careers individually and as a band. Leanne Womack, Keith Urban, Lou Reed. You tell me that story. You played for Lou Reed. What's the story behind that? That's
just a fun little story I like to throw in there. But I was living down in Nashville, actually, and it was a really small... I had just driven down there. It's a bit of a long story, but I was kind of Kerouacking around the States, and I landed in Nashville for a couple months, and I was living on a guy's couch who I met, really nice guy there. And he was a radio DJ, and he emceed larger concerts. So he kind of took me under his wing and was showing me around town. And we went out to this little dive bar one night. They had an open mic contest going on. Him and I were sitting at the bar, and this kind of posse of people walked in, and I looked and I told him, I said, "Man, it looks like Lou Reed just walked in here." And we kind of laughed, and then we're looking over at him. And so we opened up the paper, and sure enough, Lou Reed was playing 2 nights in town. So he was just there hanging out. And then I was signed up to play, so I got to go up and play. And he was front table, front row, and he just sat there cross-legged right in front of me for the whole performance. And he was like my dad's musical hero, so I knew all about it.
No pressure, eh? No pressure?
No pressure. So there's Lou Reed right in front of me, and it was a pretty surreal experience. I didn't end up bothering him. We just, at one point, I kind of raised my glass to him, and he gave me a nod, and we sort of shared a drink from across the room, and that was it.
And now you got a story to tell for the rest of your career, right?
yeah, it's a fun one to tell. My old man loves it, and it was a pretty special moment. Just one of those things that kind of validated, getting out there and actually doing stuff, be traveling and just pursuing, and then things will happen for you,
Absolutely. So your debut album for the Unfaithful Servants was released in 2019, which doesn't sound like it was that long ago, but 6 years ago, produced by Grammy winner Steve Smith. So how have the Unfaithful Servants evolved, Dylan, from that project to now with Fallen Angel?
I would go as far to say that it's basically a whole new band. That's the way it feels like. After about a year after we did that record, our bass player and fiddle player left the band for 2 separate reasons, which both weren't musically related, but it was COVID was happening, and they wanted to start families and stuff. And so the band, we recorded that album, and then a year later we disbanded, and we're essentially dead in the water for about 3 years until we met Quin, who is our current fiddle player. Just there aren't like a ton of players around this part of the world, and people that could kind of do what we need them to do. And so finding him, he was a 20-year-old kid. He showed up to rehearsal and had our whole album nailed note for note, which was pretty impressive. Wow. And, he was willing to jump in the van and do the thing with us. He brought us new life, and he's a great improviser and just a great musician. And then we eventually met Mark. We kind of joked that we have a bit of a Spinal Tap thing with bass players. I think we've been through 5 bass players.
Right.
And then we met Mark Johnson, who was also just a great player and a great fit personably. So the band really locked in with the four of us, just on a musical level and also just on a like personal level. So that's been just under 2 years that we've been, performing under that, and also just kind of coming out of the fog of COVID. So really being able to kind of tour again and stuff. So it just feels pretty fresh and new in that sense. And just the level of musicality that we have with the two new guys and the level of camaraderie is just a whole different situation. So it's a whole new deal, I'd say.
I'm glad that you guys found each other and are back together and have produced a brand new album, Fallen Angel, which people can listen to anywhere they stream music. For all the tour dates and all the information about Unfaithful Servants, just head to unfaithfulservants.com. Dylan, thank you very much for taking time with me today, man.
Yeah, it was great to meet you. And let's hope that you get a little World Series pennant over in your part of the world soon.
I know, right? I think all of Canada is behind the Blue Jays right now. We'll have to get this interview live in turn to get some of that manifesting out there for all the Jays fans, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, great to meet you.
Yeah, you too, man.